Bonjour mes amis, hi guys. If you've been collecting for a while, you might have a glut of watches, maybe a bit too many watches in the mid tier, and maybe also some watches that you think you could combine to make your life a bit easier, have a smaller but better collection. I did a video about that before looking at my own pieces. I'll put the link in the comments. But a viewer of the channel, Andrew, was just telling me that he's considering what to buy for his next piece. He wants something more expensive, and maybe move some of his other pieces to consolidate. And often you look at Instagram pictures of a perfect collection, like a Patek, an AP, and a Rolex, perhaps, that cover all the grounds, everything you need, and it's quite beautiful. But some thoughts come to mind, and I think obviously we all have a different collection, different lifestyle. It might not be that great to do it, and it might be difficult to do it as well, as you're going to have to sell some pieces. So let's try to dig a bit into it. I mean, I'm all for on the positive side, I'm all for the less is more, and having better pieces rather than accumulating things that you're not gonna really wear every day. For example, I have this Omega Seamaster Aquaterra, and now I have this Tudor Black Bay Blue. Do I really need to have those two blue watches? They're quite different. Is it worth selling one? Yes or no? There's good and bad. I could just keep some very upmarket stuff like a longer, a Patek, and a very good Rolex, and there you go. Now, some things to watch out for. What I'm thinking is, do I really want to have only very expensive pieces? The thing with those pieces, that service is going to be expensive, precious metal is not going to be as usable. A thing like a Royal Oak. Many people think about the Royal Oak to replace some of the other watches. You look at the collection, you're thinking, damn, I could have bought a Royal Oak of some kind, maybe even one with a dual time complication, and that would cover many bases. The problem is with the Royal Oak is once you start damaging it, you're losing a lot of value on it. It's although it's a sports watch, it's more of a sporty watch. The water resistance is not that good. The movements and the crowns are not usually very solid, at least not as much as a Rolex. And the service costs are horrendous. And you might be without your watch for quite a while when you need to service it. So you need to factor all that in and think that you might be buying into a depreciating asset. Of course, if you can get it at retail, the Royal Oaks are going to keep good value. Same for the Nautilus. But to get those at retail, you really have to spend quite a lot. So you might not be, if you're not a high roller, let's say, if you're a high roller, sure, get whatever you want, great. And but if you're not, careful stretching too far into the very expensive stuff that might also not be as usable on a daily basis as, for example, an Explorer, the value of which you are comfortable with when you go out at night or when you're out playing with the kids, going to the beach, might not be the same if you have a very expensive piece that, as I was saying, might turn into a bit of a financial drag and a depreciating asset if you have any issue with it. So, for example, I have this little Calatrava that I got at a very good price. It's a modern classic from Patek, and I have this Explorer 2, which is also becoming sort of a semi-vintage classic from Rolex. It's been gaining value and still has a lot of room to appreciate. So both are sort of great watches to collect and appreciating in value, and they're yet very usable, and they're not crazy expensive. Obviously, Patek is quite in a high bracket, but it's not insanely expensive. And this Rolex Explorer 2 has a lot of scratches, but is unpolished, so it's very usable on an everyday basis. If I was to replace these two, for example, by a 39mm Royal Oak dual time that has the dual time function and is a bit upper market, what am I really getting into? Any problem with the GLC movement in that Royal Oak? It's going to cost me quite a lot to service. If I'm going to start damaging the bracelet and I want to have it polished, it's going to cost more, and the value is going to get chipped away slowly. So that's one of the things I think about. The other thing about a Royal Oak, for example, or say a two-tone or a day-date, a full gold Rolex President, for example, if you're not Tony Soprano and have, you know, and are relaxed to wear that kind of watch in any circumstance, even when you're beating up someone, you might want to think twice, especially in this pandemic world. We've seen an increase of attacks here in Hong Kong for people wearing day dates, trying to sell them online, meeting people in a public place, and yet getting attacked by total amateurs, not real thieves, which makes me think that it's going to get a bit more risky, a bit like it is already in London. I think the Paul Top videos should be enough warning for you that you might not want to be showing too much wealth in certain places, certain countries. And I'm afraid Hong Kong might fall into that category quite soon. A lot of the organized crimes revenues have been curtailed by the lockdowns. Sort of the non-violent type of activities like prostitutions, massage parlors, and even drugs, with no people going out. They're selling a lot of less of them. It's quite a dark subject, but they're gonna find a way to make money another way, and maybe attacking you for your Rolex or your Richard Mille is one way to do it. So they don't know many models, but they sure know the Royal Oaks. They sure know the Patek, AP, Patek, Rolex. These are the targets. So be mindful of that. Again, it depends on your circumstances. If you live in a mansion, travel in your Bentley and go to your country club, I guess that's fine. If, like me, you take the subway and live a normal life, it might make you feel uncomfortable at times, and you might put a little target on your back if you're going to a bar. So let's keep that in mind as well. So those are the main things I wanted to touch on. The last thing I would say is that you might wonder how I ended up with so many watches, or how yourself you ended up with so many watches. The thing is, we are watch geeks, and we find pleasure in a Seiko Willard as much as we do when we can afford it in a Patek. Today I was wearing my Maurice Lacroix Icon, this big chunk of well-polished metal. Just so enjoyable because it suits me. I like the play of light. And you might think it's sacrilege to enjoy this if you can wear your longer, but that's what watch geeks do. So the whole pleasure of collecting is to try different things, to have the same watch that James Bond wore in 2 or 3 movies lately, to have a cool reissue of a Longines diver, which actually has gained some value as well. So it is sort of an appreciating asset in and of itself. Same thing, I have a couple of Zenith as well. Great recreation of the original ones. Beautiful watch, very original. If you tie up all your money into 3-4 very high-end watches, well, just how long is it going to take until you get the jitters again, and you're jonesing to buy something else, even something cheaper, because our collections, the fun of it is that they are evolving, and consolidating is a way to move on as well. But trust you me, after 6 months, you're going to be looking at something else, and when you start playing with the very expensive pieces, it's going to get more and more tricky, more and more expensive every time if you go and try to sell them through dealers, or if you try to sell them yourself. That's another thing I wanted to touch on. When you want to consolidate and sell all these maybe mid-range pieces, well, if you do it yourself, you're going to meet a whole cast of time wasters and possibly criminals on the way. and you will realize that Zenith and Jaeger-LeCoultre and such don't keep good value. So always important to buy them at the best possible prices, second hand if you can. If you buy them new, it's a bit more risky. You got to go for the stuff that's really popular, like those Tudors, which are easier to move. And the higher you're going to move, the bigger the risk you take. If you start playing with longer, they're great on the second-hand market, but you might take a bath if you don't buy them right. So another thing to keep in mind. So these are my thoughts. I'm totally game on the concept of having less but better stuff. But I think for the everyday man, if someone like me, I've worked hard to be able to afford those pieces. I can't afford really moving too much my collection, losing too much. So I may move on with this idea of selling all this stuff, but I will always want to keep very usable things. So the dress watches are usable for me at the office. If you don't work in an office, or what good is it to you to have a watch on a strap in white gold? These days of working from home, mostly I wear this Tudor Black Bay because it's just cool in every circumstance. So what's the point of going too much up market when you have kids and you have to travel around and carry things around? Maybe you don't really want to have that royal oak on the wrist, and the right watch for you is going to be something a bit more usable on an everyday basis. If that fits your budget. If you have the budget to buy 10 royal oaks, well, by no means wear one every day and put all the scratches in it. Likewise, this Explorer or the Sea Dweller. Now, the last thing I should say is that when watches, those higher end watches tend to keep good value and increase in value and become a bit of case queens, and you want to keep them and baby them. So again, they're not that usable as an Explorer. Already my Sea Dweller, they haven't made it for a long time. It's the Sea Dweller 4000. So maybe it's not a watch that I really want to wear as much and bang around as much, because it's going to chip away the value of this watch, which is becoming an investment piece. So I think a good balance between the nice stuff for the office, the investment pieces, and the everyday pieces is a good thing to do. So I hope my thoughts were useful to you. Look at your collection. Let me know in the comments what you think about this subject, and where you're going with your collection. Would you sell 3-4 watches just to get one expensive one? Are you going to be comfortable wearing it in your neck of the woods and given your everyday life activities? Food for thought. Thanks for watching, guys. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.